Make your style statement. Hi, I'm Julie Fei Fan Balzer, your host on Make It Artsy, and today I'm going to show you how to make your own screens for screen printing, and I'm super excited about it. You can see a bunch of prints here in my art journal. Screen printing is kind of a cross between stamping and stenciling, and it's easy to do. So the first thing is I'm just going to start with a really simple drawing, and it could be anything you wanted, you know, circles, whatever, just keep it really simple. And you can see here that I already have a bunch of designs that I've gone ahead and scanned into my electronic cutter. I'm going to use this design right here. It's even right up on the screen there. And the next thing that I'm going to do is I am using a kind of vinyl that has an adhesive that's activated by an iron. So essentially, this sheet is actually three pieces. It's a transfer sheet, it's a piece of colored vinyl, and then on the back is an adhesive that's only going to be activated by the iron. So I'm going to go ahead and take my sticky mat, and I'm going to place this with the yellow side or the colored side, whatever color that may be, down against the mat. Because we're going to kiss cut this, we're only going to cut through those two layers, which is the adhesive and the vinyl, not through the transfer sheet. So now I'm going to load this into my electronic cutter. And of course, if you didn't have a cutter, you could use a wide variety of different implements. You could certainly use a knife, you could use a punch, you could use whatever it is that you have to go ahead and make those cuts. So all I'm doing is scanning in my paper so that I can see it, so that I can place the screen, because I need the screen to have a little bit of air or space around it. So as soon as it appears on the screen, I can just go ahead and I can drag this where I want it to cut, and I'm going to say okay. Now we have talked a lot about cutting, but actually we're going to draw first. And the reason that we are drawing on this instead of cutting first is, well, let me show you. So this is what it's going to look like when it's drawn and cut. And you can see, you can clearly see the lines and that design. This is what it looks like if you only cut it. So weeding is where you remove the parts of the vinyl that you don't want. It seems to me it would be very hard to remove the parts we don't want from this, whereas with this I can clearly see where I need to remove the vinyl. Now, we haven't really talked about weeding, but one of the things that you can do is you can just use a hook tool or something else that's sharp and pointy just to get under there, and then you can just go ahead and pull out the parts that you don't want. And just like weeding your garden, we've weeded this. But now that we finished drawing, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to get to the cutting. So I'm going to trade out my pen tool right here, and I'm going to go ahead and put in my blade. Now I've already set all the settings, so I know that it's going to cut exactly how I want. I'm simply going to press cut, and we're just going to keep on going. So let's talk about some more weeding. So again, I just want to pull out the parts that I don't want, and I'm just going to discard those. So I just get that hook under there and grab it with my fingers and pull it away. So once this is completely weeded out, I'm going to have something you can see where my design clearly shows, just like that. So once I have that, then I went to a thrift store and I got a bunch of curtain shears. And curtain shears, it's really just exactly what it sounds like. It's a sheer fabric that you can see through, okay? So once I have that, I'm going to go over to the iron, and I'm going to take my curtain shear, and it's going to go on the bottom. Then I'm going to take my vinyl and put it on top, color side up, right in the middle. I'm going to use a pressing sheet, and then I'm going to use a hot iron. And I'm going to go ahead. Now, you do need to hold this down for a good 10 to 15 seconds, maybe even a little bit longer. You want to make sure that this is really, really well adhered on here, okay? So once that's done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, and what I would do is take some scissors and trim away the excess fabric. So I have one here where I've already trimmed all of that away. So now all that's left is I just need to remove that shiny sheet that's right on top. So I'm just going to go ahead and get my fingernail under there, and there you go. There goes the transfer sheet. Now the transfer sheet was important because that's what's keeping all those little centers together. So once I've pulled that off, it's time to make our screen printing frame, which sounds very official, but essentially I'm just using tape. And what I do is I pull off a piece of tape. It doesn't matter what it looks like, although this is kind of pretty and turquoise, so I like that. And I just want to cover up the very edge of it. So you can see I've placed it down against the sticky side. Then I'm going to go ahead and fold it over just like so. Then I simply take some scissors, and it's a great idea to use scissors that are good at cutting through sticky material because tape can be extremely sticky. And I would repeat this process on all the sides. Now personally, I like to do this side and then this side and then the other two sides. And I think that makes the neatest frame possible. And if you look, you can see this is what your finished screen will look like. Now, the reason this is blue and this is yellow is simply because I used a different color of vinyl. And here are some of the prints. But let's go ahead and do this now. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take this, and I am just working on top of some paper that's already been painted. This is kind of garbage paper from my studio. I have a piece of foam. This is just a regular piece of craft foam, and it provides a nice little cushion. So I'm going to place that underneath my paper to provide a printing cushion. Then with the color side going down, okay, that's important, and the curtain sheer up towards me, I'm gonna go ahead and take some block printing ink. They do also have screen printing ink. I just personally like the way that the block printing ink dries. This is also a water-based ink, so I feel like it dries a little bit faster and it's a little less toxic as opposed to an oil-based ink. So I'm gonna go ahead, put some pressure on the front, use a credit card, a room key, whatever it is, and I'm just gonna pull towards myself. Now you need to flood the screen at first, which involves pulling a couple times. You can also pull across it sideways, and when I pull this back, dun, 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 we have our beautiful print. And just like a stamp or a stencil, you can continue to go along and print, and you can just print as many times as you want. And if you want, you can of course move the cushion that's underneath there, something like that. And just like this, go ahead and print it over and over and over again. And look how bright white that is. That's one of the reasons that I love using paint. It just really is opaque and lovely. Now, if you look at some of the other screens I have here, one of the questions that I get asked so frequently is how do you clean them? I use running water and an old, soft, dedicated toothbrush. You don't want to put that in your mouth after you've used it, okay? And you just sort of gently rub in a circular motion to clean them off. And now, if we look back at my art journal, I think you'll see here's the round screen that we made being used in this multi-layered composition. Now, I'm a very more is more kind of person. If you're more subtle kind of person, you can certainly do standalone screens like this turkey, where you can see it makes a great overall pattern for wrapping paper, fabric, or anything else.